Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amanda and today's video is one that I've seen going around quite a bit recently, and it's telling people what mistakes I've made. I've watched them with quite a few different YouTubers and I found them quite interesting actually, and so I thought I would share with you as well. Disclaimer, mistakes kind of makes it sound as if they're things that I regret or I wish I could change, and I don't really think it's that important to dwell on regrets and things like that. But what I will say, these mistakes are things that if I did them again, say if the situation came up again, I would have made different choices, but I don't want to erase the past or anything. So I've got 7 things for you today. They're a mixture, some financial, some marriage and work stuff, yeah. So let's get into them. So my first 2 are going to be financial ones, get them out of the way. So the first one is getting sucked in to these credit card points. So when me and Raf first got married, we had a credit card with American Express. Yeah, American Express. Now, bearing in mind that I've never had a credit card before, I didn't really understand credit cards, debt, all that kind of stuff. But we got a credit card then, and at the time it had a deal where when you buy something, you get a certain number of points, like flying miles for Virgin Atlantic. And so we had this credit card, and at first, the whole thing was that we would just do all of our shopping on the credit card, and then at the end of each month we'd clear it. And so it started off really well, we'd do all our grocery shopping, just everything that we could apart from our bills, we'd do on that card, and we'd clear it, and we were building up all these points. And then and we thought, you know what, this is money we were going to spend anyway, and it's all working out really well. But then sometimes, and if you're a really disciplined person, then kudos to you, but sometimes you'd take your eye off things and then start spending on the card more than you'd planned to. And then when it came to paying it back and clearing it, it was oh, okay, that's a bit more than I expected this month, but there we go, clear it off. And then it got to the point where it's oh, well, I'll just buy this and it's all right, I'll be able to clear it the month after. Or you kind of get into this spiral. And so, we didn't go that ridiculous, but still we went into debt. Let's be honest, we had a credit card, we had this bill on the credit card, which was more than we had planned to do. We started buying things that we wouldn't have planned to buy, but because we had the credit card, we were doing it. And so it's just this whole pitfall that you fall into. We got out of it and everything, but in terms of getting points for everything, from all those points that we earned, and a big chunk of those points were from another flight that we'd done in the past, a couple of years before that, we were able to take one holiday. We went to Orlando in 2018. It was a great trip and the flights were covered by flying miles, but they forget to tell you that it only covers the non-tax part, and so we had to pay all the tax of the flights, and so that's half the ticket, and so we got 50% tickets. But really, it didn't make that much of a difference. And the amount that we ended up spending on the card and the impact of that made more of a difference. It was way more than we saved on those flights. And so unless you're super, super disciplined, I wouldn't suggest getting a credit card. And if you do get a credit card, use it really, really wisely. And so first mistake. Mistake number 2, another financial one, and that was leasing both of our cars. Now, when we first got married, when we first met, we both owned cars, own them outright. And then when we got married, I still own my car, and Raf's car we got on lease. I thought that was absolutely fine. I still think that's fine because we he likes to change his car quite often, and so I think it's quite a smart thing to do if you're someone that likes to change their car quite a lot. Whereas me, I don't really care about cars that much. As long as it gets me around and I'm comfortable in it and I like them to be high off the ground, I'm pretty happy. But I kind of fell into the trap of oh, let's get a new car. Okay, why not just lease one? Because then you don't have to spend all that time, saving up the money, and you can just pay these monthly payments. No. Now we've got 2 lease cars, and now I'm wanting to reverse this whole decision, and I want to have one car that's bought outright. I think, when you've got payments on things, if any situation was to change, right now it's fine, but if anything was to change, one of us couldn't work or for whatever reason, we then don't have a car that we own outright, and so I think that was a mistake, and I'm trying to rectify that. The next mistake is something that I did at quite a bit at work, especially when I first qualified. So I came out of med school, you know, you're doing this whole medical degree, and you'll find that when you're working on different specialties, there's always like different abbreviations or, you know, different protocols, a way of doing things that are all specific to those specialties. And so I would go onto these new jobs and be asked questions or be given instructions, and sometimes I'd be like, I don't know what on earth you're telling me, but I was just really good at blagging it. So I'd be like, oh, okay, yep, that's fine, yeah, I'll do that, I know what that is, yeah, no problem. And I would then spend so much time trying to figure out what I've been told to do. And so the next mistake that I did was blagging it and like lying that I knew what I was talking about. I could have learned so much more if I asked more questions, and been able to do things much quicker if I didn't just act like I knew things and wasn't embarrassed to say that I didn't know something. If you're in training, especially if you're in training, ask questions. Say if you don't understand something. I have lots of people that are trainees that I've helped in their training now, and they ask me questions and I don't feel they're stupid or they don't have any problems with it. And so I don't know why my seniors would have had problems with it, but at the time I just thought, I'll figure it out myself and I'll keep blagging it and I'll act like I know everything and everything's great. No, that was a mistake. Okay, so number 4 is a marriage one. Now, you guys that are married, you women out there, if you're married, you might have the same experience with your husband, and it's all about communication, this mistake. So I used to, when we were first married, like have things that I wanted to do or things that I needed to happen, and I would think that they're really obvious, or I'd be like, you know, why can't he just like tell that I need this or that I want this, like whatever it is. But he wouldn't do it. Like, say I wanted him to like do the laundry, and then I'd come home and the laundry wasn't done, and I'd be like, how has he not done it? Like, could he not see the pile of laundry there? Why didn't he just do it? And my mistake was thinking that my husband was telepathic. He said it as a joke in our couples tag. How do I communicate?
Telepathically.
He wasn't lying. In the beginning, I used to be like, why didn't he get it? If I can see the laundry needs doing, if I can see this food needs cooking, why can't he see it? Why can't he do that? Why can't he see what I need? No. I don't know if it's all men, but men don't work like that. They need clear instructions. And so a mistake that I definitely made, especially in those first few years of marriage, was not being really clear about what I wanted, what I needed, and just communicating things openly with my husband. Now, I will say what I need, and if I don't need anything, if I don't need any help, I'll be like, I don't need it. And actually, Raph has gotten better as well. He like asks questions. I remember when he first started asking like, oh, where's this go, or what should I do here? I'd be like, getting so annoyed at it, like, can't you just figure it out? And then I realised, actually, him asking questions, if I just answered them and stop making a big deal out of it, we can kind of get along a bit better and get things done. And so yeah, communicate with your husbands, communicate with the men, just like tell them what you're thinking. They're not going to figure it out. Next mistake is one that I'm still making and I'm trying my best to sort out, but that's drink more water. Listen, water, I could do a whole video about the benefits of water, the properties of water. But all I'm going to say is I wish I drank more water. I wish I was drinking more water now. My skin could be flourishing so much more, everything. But it's something that I'm fixing, but it's definitely a mistake that I've made and I continue to make. Now the next one is a parenting mistake, and it's something that I did before I was a parent. And I think some of it I felt like it came because I was a doctor, and so like I knew things that parents should be doing. But basically it's kind of judging parents for their decisions, or like I don't think I was very vocal about it, or I hope I wasn't. I tried not to like tell people I thought what they were doing was wrong with their kids, but I remember thinking a lot of time like, what are you doing there? I would never do that, or like, I'm not going to do that when I have kids, what are you doing? And I'm just not getting it. And then I had my own child and I realised the realities of parenting. I realised that, you know, kids, they have a mind of their own. What works for one child doesn't work for another child. What works for one family won't work for another family. And there's often so many reasons behind why something has happened or why they do something that, you know, my little judgy self before I had kids, before I knew what I was talking about, mistake, it's embarrassing. And when I think about things that you say to my husband about what people used to do with their kids, embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I shouldn't be saying it. I didn't know what I was talking about. I wasn't a parent. I didn't have a kid. I should have just like switched those thoughts off. I really hope I wasn't very vocal about them apart from to my husband. Fingers crossed. If I offended anybody because I said something, gosh, I hope I didn't. But if I did, I'm sorry. It's funny because the other day, my daughter, we were on a walk and she got my keys and she threw them and they landed into a drain, like an outside drain on the street. And, you know, like in a cartoon, they landed in there. And so I was walking with my friend because we were like out with the kids and we had to go and get a neighbour to come and bail us out because I had no phone on me and there were the keys to not only my house but also my car. And so anyway, I thought it was a funny story, so I posted it on my Instagram. And it was funny, the parents out there, they were just like, that's hilarious, or like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me, or, you know, just like really empathetic, or like telling me stories about how something similar happened to them. And the people that weren't parents were messaging like, why did you have your keys? How can you not have your keys? Why did you have your keys? And I was like, listen, you haven't had a kid, you don't know how the situation can get to that sometimes, and you don't know the affinity that children have for keys. I didn't have pockets because we went for a quick walk just around our street and I was holding her because she didn't want to walk anymore, and then she was grabbing them out of my hand and I was like trying to take them back and then they flew and fell in the drain. So that's how she got them. I didn't just give them to her. I didn't say, here, Isabella, carry my keys. But when you don't have a kid, you sometimes like have these thoughts like, what? Like, that's obvious. No, you just don't know, okay? My final, number 7, my final mistake that I've made, and I'm learning to not make this mistake anymore, was one that I think a lot of people talk about, but I was like, I had a problem with this, and that was looking forward to the next thing and not enjoying where I am, like not being content. The amount of times that I'd have something that I would pray for, you know, say it was like, okay, getting into medical school or finishing medical school or getting into GP training or finishing that, buying a house, getting married, getting engaged, whatever. I'd pray and hope for these things and they'd come, and instead of like just enjoying the moment and being like, yes, I'm inside the answered prayers that I prayed for, I'd be like, oh, the next thing. And it's because I'm a planner, it's because I'm someone that likes to envisage and dream and all that kind of stuff, but actually contentment, living in the moment, because then you miss out on all the fun bits. I used to say like the way that I get through work was like looking forward to my next holiday, and at the end of each holiday I'd plan my next holiday. But like, that's not the way that you enjoy things, by always looking forward to the next thing. And my daughter's what's taught me this. Since becoming a mom, I've definitely started to live more in the moment and become more content with things. Even down to things like my house, you know, I'd always like dreamed of where I would live and where I'm going to move to, but recently I've just become so content in where we are. And I think it's been the pandemic, having to stay in like and be with your family all the time, it's made us just slow down. It's made me slow down and just appreciate things as they are and just learn a bit more contentment. I'm still somewhat plans and I still enjoy planning and looking forward to the future, but now I really do just like enjoy what's happening in the moment now. When it's stressful, sometimes I do want that time to, you know, hurry up. If I'm having a bit of a day at work, I'm looking forward to getting home, but past that I'm just trying to, you know, take each thing as it comes and to remember when I'm living in the prayers, that in the answered prayers that I prayed for. So I hope this is interesting to you. Leave down below what your mistakes are. Any of them similar to mine? Can you relate? But I will see you next week in another Friday video. I think it's a vlog that's coming, so stay tuned. And if you haven't already, if you're watching this video, you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. Please like it as well if you did. Comment, share it. You know, we're trying to build something here. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.